Hi there. Hello, world. My name is Andy, and I'm just from here on out going to call myself AndyIndiana because I'm from Indiana. I have done probably about 40, okay, fine, 45 of these videos. And in order to talk about yourself, it's one of the most hardest, difficult processes, believe me, because I'm doing it right now. And like I said, I've done 45 probably of these videos, and I've watched them, and I'm like, oh God, no, delete, redo, delete, redo. It's 2018. Yay! Happy New Year, all. Who knows what this new year is going to bring? Because you just never know in life. Maybe I'll get on the Ellen DeGeneres show and she'll be like, oh my God, who is this guy? I have to meet him. I would love to meet you, Ellen. So if you ever watch this, it's AndyIndiana. But anyhow, I want to tell you a little bit about me. And I wanted my first video to be all about myself because Carly Simon wrote a song about me once. I'm sure all of you know it. It's all about me. It's called You're So Vain, because I am. And I never used to be that way. I had a wonderful childhood. I had two amazing grandparents that I spent probably every weekend or every other weekend at their home. I tell people they pretty much raised me. I had excellent, excellent parents. Don't get me wrong. But my grandparents are special people because they spoil the hell out of you. They get a second chance at, raising children and spoiling the crap out of them. And believe me, mine went above and beyond for me. I was always number one, most important in their life. And to be honest, I wish there was a direct line to heaven to where I could call either one of them and just say, this is what's gone on since you've passed. And I just wish I could hear their voice. But I know in my mind that's never going to happen. I'll see them one day. I just know it because I know they're flying high in heaven. I know they're watching this video and they're going, do it. Do it true. Be you. Be yourself. It's the raw deal, babe. Do it. My grandmother always encouraged me to be myself. That's probably one of the reasons why I am the way that I am. Because she said, love you. Love yourself. But I'm also going to tell you about my coming out story. It's not gruesome. It's not horrifying. It is what it is. And maybe watching this will help you to come out. My suggestion is come out when you want to. Don't come out because somebody told you to. Don't come out because you feel it's right. Do it when you're ready. And I was ready. I was roughly about 17 and a half years old when I came out. I don't think I ever had to because I have always walked, talked, acted. I've always been me. Now, don't get me wrong. I'll tell you this before I tell you my coming out story. I was raised in a small town in Indiana. I got bullied. I got tormented. I got pebbles on the playground thrown at me for being me. I got called a fag almost every day during my childhood. I kind of hid it deep inside because I didn't want to go home and tell my parents, hey, I'm being called this, that, I didn't want to do that. In that moment when I did get called that, I had very thick skin, just like I do today. I've been through hell and half Louisiana in my life, but I'm still here, standing on my own 2 feet that God gave me, and I'm doing it. And this year, I'm doing it on YouTube. And I'm going to start doing videos, like little segments of my life. Like, this is what I do. This is who I am. It's the raw, uncut. Boom. There it is. And I hope that it helps someone say, oh, wow, this guy has been through hell, and he's still alive. He has attempted suicide. Oh, absolutely. When I first came out, I was so depressed because I felt like I was less than. And I felt like I wasn't right like everyone else. And like I said, let's get to the point. So here you go. I was roughly about 17 and a half years old. I'd gotten arrested for something really stupid because I tried to mask who I was. I was doing drugs. I was stealing. I was being the person I'm not, just to be accepted with other people. And I did these things. I got arrested at 17 and a half years old. Thank God I wasn't 18. But anyhow, I called one of my best friends and I said, hey, listen, this is what's going on. I got arrested for this. And I started crying. And she's like, why are you doing this? And I said, well, and she was much older than me. Actually, she was my teacher in 8th grade. And we kind of had a bond, and her kids were my age. So we became really close, really good friends. And anyhow, I called her and I started crying. And I said, I have to tell my parents something. And she goes, Andy, I already know what it is. And I said, well, what is it? And she goes, you're gay. And I went, oh my God, how did you know that? And she said, I've always known. I've known since you were in my class in the 8th grade. And I go, why didn't you ever tell me that? And she said, well, because you have to be ready at one point in your life to just come out. And she goes, it's not a bad thing. She goes, and she went on to tell me she knows several gay people, blah, 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 blah. So then the next person I told just so happened and still is my best friend to this day, which would be my aunt, my father's sister. And she lived just a hop, skip, and a jump from my parents' house. And I went over and picked her up. Now, granted, I'll be honest, this is the raw truth. I'm a smoker. Still to this day, I'm trying my best to quit, but it's baby steps. It's one day at a time, right? But anyhow, I went and picked her up in my 1998 Ford Explorer, and I just chain smoked the whole we just drove around the block. And I'd introduced her to this guy that I met that absolutely took my breath away. And he was a couple years older than me, and he was in college. He was attending college. And I drove around the block, went picked her up, we drove around the block, and I said, hey, you know that guy I introduced you to? And she said, yeah. And I said, well, I like him a little bit more than a friend. And she went, ugh, have you told your parents? Have you told grandma? Now, I'll tell you one of the reasons why I told her. I told her because I knew in that moment that she would tell everyone, and I wouldn't have to. So she promised me she wouldn't say anything. So that evening, I dropped her off, drove back home, and I said, Mom and Dad, I got to tell you something. And they came into my bedroom, and I said, I just want to let you know that guy I introduced you to? I like him a little bit more than a friend, and I'm gay. And my mom's reaction was real like, oh, well, okay. But my father's it's followed me every day of my life. He started crying and he was very emotional about it. And I remember the only thing he said was, you will never be able to carry on the family name. And that really ultimately broke my heart. I mean, it just crushed me to the core. Now, I'll be honest, I've never really had a great relationship with my parents. Probably due to the fact that I didn't fit in. I wasn't the star athlete for my dad. I wasn't the prom king like my father was. I wasn't any of that. I didn't excel in band, none of that. I was a loner kind of in high school. Now, I told you about elementary school. It was hell. I got tormented almost every day. And you're probably asking, well, what did teachers, what did other classmates say? Well, the teachers, in my opinion, and it's true, in elementary school, they kind of laughed and kind of went along with it. They never reprimanded the kids that were making fun of me and calling me names. They might say, knock it off, but they never got reprimanded for the way they treated me. Now, in middle school, we're all going through puberty in middle school, okay? And, I'm kind of going through puberty myself, and it was not as bad as elementary. I was a little bit more accepted for being me. High school was fabulous because all the girls wanted a gay friend, and it just so happened to be AndyIndiana was their friend, and I got accepted to parties. That's where I started doing drugs, but that's a totally different ball game. And my spiritual awakening was the moment I got arrested at 17 and a half years old. I realized that this could have been on my record for the rest of my life because once you turn 18, it's going to be. So I did all the things I needed to do to get past that, over that. And shortly after telling my parents, like I said, I was very close to my grandparents. There was a strain in the house because Andy's gay. And maybe that's not how they wanted it to be, but that's how I took it. So I moved into my grandparents' house. And I don't know how long it was the guy that I told you that I came out for, he shortly thereafter moved in as well. Now, keep in mind, I'm in high school, he's in college, and we lived there for a while. We played caretaker to my grandparents, which I will never forget those moments, those experiences, cleaning, doing laundry, babying them, spoiling them like they spoiled me. That's mainly one of the major reasons why I stayed in Indiana was because I made a promise to my grandmother once upon a time when I was really young. She said, please promise that you will never go anywhere until I pass. And she recently passed actually last year, and it's been very difficult for me, but life goes on, and I'm trying my best to get by every day. I miss her every day in every possible way. But anyhow, we moved in with her, and then we kind of unanimously came to this decision that we are going to get our own apartment. We need our own space. We need to start our life. We need to build our life. So, like I said, shortly thereafter, I'm still in high school at this point, we get an apartment. That was probably one of the happiest times in my life. But back then, it was the most miserable because we lived honest to God, paycheck to paycheck. We robbed Peter to pay Paul. We did crazy things just in order to get by and to pay our bills. But we did it. And like I said, it was the happiest time of my life. And we lived there for a short while. I turned 18, we lived there for probably about a year. And I'm roughly 18 and a half years old, and he is driving to work, and he drove by this house, and he's like, you know what, we should buy a house versus throwing our money away in rent. Well, lo and behold, I bought a house, and my grandparents co-signed for it. I was 19 years old when I purchased my first house. It was 3/3 of '03, and my grandparents said, we'll co-sign on one condition, his name is not on it, which we would fight about it. We would, because this is your house. Whenever we got in an argument, that was thrown in my face. This is your house. And I look back on that, and there's all these things that has happened to me in my life, like I said, that's brought me right to where I am today. If I could go back in time, turn back time as one of Cher's songs, I would. And I would do it in a heartbeat because I've learned a lot of hardcore life's lessons. I'm 34 years old. I have learned that you should love yourself and do it. Honestly, genuinely. There was periods of time in my life where I didn't love myself. And I've been suicidal in my life. We bought that house when I was 19. He left when I was 23. That was the single most devastating thing, honestly, other than losing my grandparents, that I've ever had to go through. Because I loved him with all of my heart. And he left for someone else. They don't leave just to leave. He left for someone else, and he realized on his own that life, or the grass wasn't greener on the other side. He never tried to come back. He moved on his way, and I hope he's doing well. I think of him all the time because I spent pretty much, he was like my high school sweetheart. If we didn't go to the same high school because obviously he was in college, but I grew up with this person. And I loved him. It was devastating. I literally, in that time, I became a full-fledged 8 to 8 alcoholic. I would drink to the point of I didn't know who I was, what I'm about, where I live, what's my social security number, what's my blood, none of that. It hit me like whammo. I loved to drink. I was at the bars every night. I don't care if we only had one gay bar here in Indiana, but there's several, but in my hometown, I mean. But anyhow, I would be at the bar, not just a gay bar. I'd be at any bar, and I am famous in my own hometown. I walk in a bar, and they're like, "Oh my God, the shit show's about ready to begin," because I'm pure live entertainment. What you see is what you get. That's the fact. And I became this crazy drunk. And mainly because I was heartbroken. I was sad. It was a miserable time for me in my life. But the truth of the matter is, somehow, it must have been like a God shot. Boom. All of a sudden, I meet this guy, and he was awesome. And we met, and it was awesome. He called me on the phone. I'm an artist, so I'm outside doing this painting. Had been drinking. I'm about one sheet to the wind here, and he calls me out of the blue. And he goes, "Hi, this is," and I go, "Hi, who are you?" Little did he know I was drunk. But we did go on our very first date that evening. And lo and behold, I wound up spending about 5.5 years with him. And I will say that I've never been closeted. But I closetly, secretly drank him out of my life. And for that, I'll always be sorry because he was amazing. And I literally drank him away. I would lie to him and say, no, I haven't been drinking. And I'm so fun and I'm so crazy and I'm so spontaneous that you never can tell if I'm drunk or sober. I went shopping. Here's a story for you. I went shopping with a girlfriend of mine and we're standing in this department store. And this woman, and I'm all animated and going, oh my God, that's great. You need to buy it. Oh my God, you need it. And this woman walks up to me out of the crystal clear blue sky and she goes, oh my gosh, what? How much? It's so early. How much have you had to drink? What? It's like 9 o'clock in the morning, lady. No, I haven't been drinking. This is just how I am. And my girlfriend started laughing and she goes, it's true. She goes, you're wild, crazy, you're loud. And I'm loud because my sister's deaf. That's my opinion. I don't know. It's just the way my parents brought her up to speak to her like I'm speaking to you. And she reads lips very well. We never really did the sign language thing. I know sign language, but to be brutally honest, I only know the bad words. I only know the bitch. I only know the really bad words. My sister and I, we have our own little way of communicating. Like I can look at her and go, and she'll say, and I don't even have to talk. We can be at a bar and she'll be like, oh. And she can read my lips. Like what I just said was, how are you doing? And oh my God, look at him. And we just have always had that wonderful communication. And my sister and I are very close. I love her with all my heart. She's been there with me when I was on rock bottom, when I was, all the way up here, top of my game here. But I'm trying my best to do these YouTube videos. And like I said, who knows what might happen. Somebody might see this and go, oh, wow, you, my dear, you're something special. But who knows? And that's not my intentions in any way, shape, or form. I just want to get my story out. It's mine. It's special. I'll go back to the rest. So I spent 5.5 years with this guy. I drank him out of my life. I was a party boy. I love to go out and drink. You're probably asking yourself, well, what do you do now? And how are your parents today? My parents and what am I doing today? Well, today in my life, currently I buy and sell antiques. I've been excellent at it. I've made a living doing it. I'm self-employed. That is what I do. I buy and sell antiques. I attend auctions. I love it. It's in my blood. I grew up going to these auctions. And like I said, I'm famous in my own hometown. I'll go to these auctions. All these people know me. They're like, oh God, Andy's here. Well, if we want it, we better go tell him because he'll end up buying it. But I don't do that intentionally. I do that because I resell. I do collect. I went into this business saying I will never collect. Well, that is the biggest farce ever. I'm a borderline hoarder, but I'm an organized hoarder. My house is covered from floor to ceiling with oil and watercolors because that's what I've always wanted. I wanted that. I wanted original. I didn't want prints that I can go to, wherever and pick up. No, I wanted real stuff. And I wanted local artists, Indiana artists. I own a Picasso. Can you believe it? I got it in San Francisco. It's amazing. I don't know the name of it right off the top of my head, but I call it Legs Wide Open because it was one of Picasso's etchings. And I love it. I'm so proud and honored that I own one. But anyhow, and then I used to clean houses. And I used to clean this for this lady who collected Roseville pottery. And I remember it like it was yesterday. I'm like, oh God, I just wish one time in my life I could own a piece of Roseville pottery. Well, needless to say, I have 2 china hutches full of Roseville pottery. And with that being said, I must tell you this. If you want it bad enough in life, you're going to get it. That is the truth. I've worked for everything I've ever had. I've suffered. I've given up vacations. I have literally worked tooth and nail to have what I have today. And like I said, I don't know if I've said this yet, but I am blessed in every step of my life. There has been times where I have tried giving up, thinking there isn't a brighter tomorrow, but there is. And I have attempted suicide twice. One of my best friends came over to rescue me. That's truth. It was right after my first partner left. I'd gotten so drunk on cheap red wine that I do own some handguns, and I loaded the gun, literally loaded the gun, and was so drunk that I don't remember this, but he called and said, "Have you ate?" And I said, "No." And he goes, "What's going on?" And I said, "Well, tonight I'm ending my life. I'm done. I'm ending my life. I no longer want to be here. I don't have a purpose. Nobody cares about me. I'm going nowhere fast." And he said, keep me on the phone. He came over. He brought Subway, but I don't remember it because obviously I was blacked out drunk. But I woke up he'd left. I woke up the next morning with gun shells all over my living room floor. And I thought in that moment, oh my God, I got to get rid of this gun. I cannot live like this. I could never do that to my parents. I could never do that to anyone, my friends, and I'm better than this. I am better than that. So I never, the thought crosses my mind all the time when I'm at my lowest, when I've hit rock bottom, somehow, in some way, I fall in a pile of shit time after time. And I come out smelling like a rose. I don't get it. I say, thank you, Jesus. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Seriously, it's the fact, Jack. I also want to tell you about my parents. Since I've told you we didn't have a very good relationship. That is the truth. But today, in 2018, I can 100% tell you my parents have come above and beyond for me. They love me unconditionally. And I love them unconditionally. You kind of pick yourself up, you forget about the past, and you keep chucking forward. My grandmother passed, like I said, this last year. And it was single most devastating for me. I got up, I gave her eulogy. I think I did a good job. I don't know. Maybe I'll post that video on YouTube for you guys to see. But anyhow, shortly thereafter, my father came over, and I'd been getting drunk and blacked out drunk and calling and cussing him out for no apparent reason whatsoever. It's just what I did and what I did. And one day, recently, he came over to my house, and I had gone through this breakup with this gentleman, and he came over to my house, and he goes, "Will you give me a hug?" And I said, "Absolutely." And he goes, "I want you to know something. I'll support any decision you ever do in life, but I want you to know you're my son, and we've not really ever got to see eye to eye, now have we?" And he goes, "You grew up hating me." And honest to God, that broke my heart. And he goes, "I want you to know, I've always loved you. I've always accepted you. You're my son. You're my only son." And that really touched me. And it's touched me, and it's encouraged me to do this video for people like you or anyone to see that time heals all wounds. And, you only get what you settle for in life. So that is probably my final goodbye here. This isn't the last video you're going to see. You're going to see wild AndyIndiana. You're going to see sad AndyIndiana. You're going to see the fun, vibrant me on YouTube. And I hope that you guys will share this video and go, "Oh my goodness, who knows what will happen." I have no intentions with this whatsoever other than to get it out there and maybe help someone. And if you're down, or you're just wanting to say, "Hey, I love your video," I did set up a new email account, and it's AndyIndiana@yahoo.com. Send me an email. I really would prefer no slanderish, no hate mail, but hey, you can want in one hand and shit in the other. But I I want to hear from you. I want you guys to share my video and say, this is the most encouraging video that I've watched on YouTube. Because I want you all to love yourself. You got to go out there, make mistakes. You got to stumble, you got to fall, but you have to pick yourself back up. Because that's what I do all the time, every day and in every way. So I want you all to know that I'm thinking of you. I want to hear from you. I want you to share this video and go, oh my goodness, watch this video. Tag your friends in it. Have a great year, everyone. It's a new year. It's a new me. It's a new you. Love yourself.